Okay, so I mentioned what is now 2 months ago in my last Simpsons video that I was working on a bigger video about the show, but that's not this. That project's taking a little more time to do all the research I need to do while also making other videos I want to make and having a full-time job. But luckily, research means watching lots of The Simpsons.
Everything's coming up Millhouse!
But anyway, there's an early episode that has been pulled from circulation on DVD and Disney Plus, and I keep thinking about it in different ways, and because of that I figured I might as well make a video on it. I wonder how many of these videos I'm going to make before I actually put out the one I'm working on. Guess we'll see. Let's do this. Okay, so for those of you who, like me, weren't in the know about this before, I'm talking about the Season 3 premiere episode, Stark Raving Dad. The episode itself revolves around the Simpson family befriending a heavyset white man who believes he's Michael Jackson, voiced by the late singer himself, under the credit of John J. Smith. Jackson apparently had a lot to do with the creation and pre-production of the episode, as well as working on the hit single that The Simpsons put out the year before, Do the Bartman.
Hey, everybody!
It was announced in 2019 that the episode was going to be removed from all future home media releases, as well as not being available on Disney Plus. And that's how I discovered it, seeing that the episode numbers didn't really line up the way they did in my head. This decision was sparked on by the release of the HBO 2-part documentary Leaving Neverland that looks at the lives of two men who, as boys, were groomed by Michael Jackson and the effect that that has had on them growing up. On the subject, longtime producer James L. Brooks said this.
The documentary gave evidence of monstrous behavior.
Also, if you can't tell by now, this is not going to be the most silly of my videos. So yeah, the episode had some problematic material in it, and they decided to pull it. That's not the strangest bit of news we've had in recent times, with shows like Scrubs, 30 Rock, Community, countless others, all pulling episodes that have jokes or content in it that may be offensive or insulting to groups that they weren't intending to, or that now they realize that they shouldn't be punching down at. It happened so much in 2020 that I could probably do an entire video about that if I wanted to, or if you want me to, leave a comment below. But to me, this situation with The Simpsons feels a bit different. This decision was made by James L. Brooks, creator Matt Groening, and the episode's co-writer and longtime showrunner Al Jean. They're the ones who decided. It wasn't a network or anyone else. In the same statement, Brooks also said,
It feels pretty clearly the only choice to make. I'm against book burning of any kind, but this is our book, and we're allowed to take out a chapter.
And that's a statement I somewhat agree with. I do believe that, it is their work of art. They should have control over it. This wasn't like a network deciding to pull it. It was them. And they should have a right to do that. But at the same time, I do think once a piece of art is out there, it is out there. And no matter how hard they try to pull it, it will always be accessible through whatever means you want. So why get rid of it? I do wonder, though, if they felt so strongly about Michael Jackson's actions towards these young boys that they're willing to do their best to get rid of the collaboration that they had with him years and years ago. Like, they feel so strongly that they want to erase that from existence. Why didn't they do it sooner? The first allegation of child abuse against Michael Jackson came out in 1993, just 2 years after this episode was released. A second one came out in 2005 and had huge media coverage that I'm sure anyone watching this video remembers. Neither of those sparked the same reaction from this creative team. Not only that, but in 2009, following Michael Jackson's death, Fox decided to air the episode again, without censoring, as a tribute to the man. Now, we can't necessarily say that that is the fault of these producers who decided to pull the episode, but it still creates a more complicated feeling for me. It just feels strange that the people who in 2019 felt so strongly that they had to pull this episode, didn't want to do so the 2 opportunities that came up before it. And still, it's like James L. Brooks said.
But this is our book, and we're allowed to take out a chapter. Wait, why'd I have to record this part twice? Couldn't you just play it again?
Now, I want to be clear, in case I'm not being obvious, that I don't think we should forget about or ignore the terrible things Michael Jackson has done. Sexual assault is a terrible thing, and I don't think that you can just hand wave away accountability on anything like that. I'm also not a huge fan of censoring media, especially existing media, with hindsight, because art is a product of its time. I also generally believe in the concept of death of the author, although that is a very mixed, murky ground to get into, and that's a whole other thing that we don't need to cover in this video. But there are a few things I'm still thinking about, and why this just doesn't feel right. It's not like Jackson is alive to benefit from any good press being a part of this episode could give to him. And it just feels like we're being denied what is honestly a really good episode of a show with a nice message about kindness and empathy. Something that honestly Michael Jackson could have learned. And this would be a drastically different conversation if he was still alive, because I personally don't believe that sexual predators deserve careers, especially famous careers, no matter how prolific and groundbreaking their body of work was. This video is like 2 steps from going off the rails. I don't want this getting out of hand. All I'm trying to say is I find it uncomfortable that this decision was made at this point in time. And to me, it just feels a little more performative than it should. I can't speak for the producers or their minds behind it. I don't know why these decisions were made. And I doubt we're going to find out any more details, because nothing's really been said on the issue since the initial announcement was made in 2019. It just sucks because it just gives me an ooky feeling, and The Simpsons is one of my favorite shows, one of everyone's favorite shows, honestly. It's a classic, and we all know that. And it's just a weird feeling thinking about it, and I'm not a fan. Alright, that's it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Big shout out to my friend David, who is always down to do weird little cameos when I ask him to. You're the best. And until next time, have a good one.